let me catch from the previous talk, everything is information, I agree. We are all pieces of information. Now the question is, how is made information valuable? Well, it's a question of the algorithms. So we can consider ourselves also a pool of algorithms. Any business is done of algorithms, taking the data and extracting value for a certain purpose out of it. I'm here as a chairman and president of the ORS group, which is an artificial intelligence and algorithm software company. We do optimization for business. So we model a process from supply chains to retail store, etc. We take data out of SAP, external databases, everywhere data are, and we model that and run algorithms to extract efficiency. Okay, what is efficiency? The universe is efficient. No, it tries to conserve energy. The universe is lazy, so we try to use the least amount of output with the maximum of input for the maximum amount of output. Okay, so that's what we do. And the reason why I'm here is that when I discovered that we can use some key functionalities of the blockchain technology and of the cryptocurrency, I said, wow, that's what we were missing. So any value chain you take, whatever business model you do, B2B, B2C, it can be described as composed of three key flows. Flow of goods and services, flow of information, flow of payments, okay? So far, with our software, we are able to optimize the flow of goods. So we take all the data and move goods from the sub-suppliers in Indonesia up to the retail stores in the US in the fastest possible way. Amazon is a master in this, no? Amazon Fresh, you get it the same day. But we had some bottlenecks in extracting value efficiency out of the value chains because the information flow was and is still very cumbersome, no? When independent, decentralized organizations are not cooperating together. And, of course, the flow of money. Well, try to transfer money from the Indonesian supplier to the Chinese one, how long it takes, and, you know, intermediaries. So when I discovered that the decentralized database feature of blockchain can be used to collectively share information, and by the way, crypto rewards can be used in a very nice way for doing this, then we can have an instantaneous, almost instantaneous flow of information. The same is true for crypto payments. I can use cryptocurrency to make a payment immediately, okay? So combining this, that's what we're doing. We have created a new concept called the hypersmart contracts, which are intelligent connectors of algorithms off-chain and information stored in-chain to create the building blocks for any business models.
And does they use artificial intelligence, these smart contracts?
They are just connectors which go and take all the intelligence, which is typically off-chain. It can be on the computer server of companies or anyway not on-chain, but it takes then information stored on-chain, for example, by suppliers cooperating in a supply chain, and it makes it very efficient. That's what we do.
Yeah. So what about, Allan, your view on the future of AI? What AI can do now, and what is the kind of challenges and opportunities?
Definitely.
Why we do blockchain, not AI? Huh?
That works perfectly. They actually work perfectly together. I'm the CEO of a company called Operant.AI, and we work with banks and collection agencies to take the guesswork out of debt recovery using millions of data points, you know, all over North America. And to me, one of the biggest bottlenecks and surprises, you know, after we entered relationships with our first customers, was that these hordes of data are all in silos, and they're not shared in a meaningful way. And it's almost impossible to get anything done, you know, in these places due to privacy concerns, et cetera. And when we look at the sort of decentralization and encryption possibilities with private blockchains for this space, they become the perfect complement for AI and artificial intelligence and gathering the data, because once you've gathered the data and you do it on a blockchain, it's immutable, it's trusted, it's true. And in that, when you do your analysis using neural nets in different areas, you know that the analysis and the conclusions you're basing things on are based on real and actual data that's valid. And that addresses many of the concerns of the banks to be able to share things in silos between themselves without exposing some of the private information. So I actually think they're a perfect complement for each other.
Yeah, so blockchain makes integrity for information to analyze by AI. Okay. Steve, what's your thoughts?
Steve Monaghan, I'm the CEO of Gen.Life, which is an AI company focused on insurance and risk and building autonomous insurance companies. I used to be Chief Innovation Officer at DBS Bank, and I did the same for AIA. If you have a look at AI, AI is a probabilistic, so it deals with risk. It's tailor-made for managing risk, and risk drives our financial systems, drives our medical systems, almost every degree of interaction. What you see with blockchain, blockchain and smart contracts are deterministic. So if you take probabilistic risk, calculate variables, put them into structured smart contracts, and then you have a very good balance of being able to now put the right controls around outcomes. And I think, talking about things like genomics and how we emanate data. In fact, if you were running AI algorithms over my voice, you could determine whether I'm manic depressive, schizophrenic, diabetic, or have a heart condition. Add video to that, I could tell if you're lying, micro expressions, whether what your pulse is, a whole range of things. So we emanate data every day, and what blockchain does is give you the ability to secure and control it, and I think that's a pretty interesting combination.
Larry, what's your thoughts?
So I replaced my friend Ron from Nikkei Venture, and my name is Genping. I come from...
But I feel you are soulmates, right? Huh? Soulmates. Soul. Okay, you have the same thoughts. Okay, go ahead.
So Vertex Ventures basically is a VC subsidiary under Temasek Holding, focused on early stage, more like Series A tech investment. So globally, we had a few AI themed startups, like chatbot for financial industry, AI chips for autonomous driving industry. So far, we don't have any blockchains portfolio yet. Generally, we see that AI basically is how to deal data with algorithms and with evolution angles, right? One of the challenges with the current AI space is that the algorithm keeps evolving, but data hardly get shared. One of the theses is actually in terms of algorithm, anything in academic will be applied to all the companies within probably like 1 year. People usually share their knowledge about algorithm, but not data. So what I feel is that AI as its current primary, very early stage of existence, which has already been applied in many areas, and the blockchain offers a natural extension for it to probably expand to other areas that probably make it unstoppable one day. Thanks.
Yeah. So, what about AI user cases which are not related to blockchain? What can do AI? What about dating? What about predictions of life expectancy? Where can AI replace human or do something better than human right now? Yeah.
If you have a look at what Google's doing with their programs with NHS in the UK, they're using 46 billion data points to analyze medical records. And those 46 billion data points are getting quite deterministic about being able to accurately forecast death, which is very important if you want to actually keep people alive. So in the insurance industry, AI for us and using predictive analytics gives you the ability to shift from just reacting to events, which are usually catastrophic, to being able to prevent them. So you can shift mortality in things using machine learning for breast cancer, and using sensors, you can change the mortality rate from 74%, 1 in 8 women get breast cancer. So if you've got a mum or a sister you care about, it's kind of a good thing to watch. But you can change that mortality rate from 74% to 2%. So now using probabilistic outcomes, you're able to now be in a position where you can drive prevention rather than remediation. I think that's a really important development. So you're seeing heart attack prediction. This is why Apple's moving into watch sensors. We saw some guys from Google DeepMind doing image assessment for X-rays. It's well proven that radiology as a job's gone through AI. But the real issue for blockchain is how do you secure all of that information? And I think that that's one of the very interesting dynamics of the interplay between artificial intelligence and blockchain.
Yeah. What should be evolved in AI to make AI kind of brain of society, so it can make most of our decisions, such as deciding where to invest, deciding whom to marry. Yeah, have ideas?
Well,
whom to marry? Yeah?
Also, yes, I think, I mean, for me it's clear that in the next 2 decades, business will be run only by robots and software, okay? So I have 2 children. I'm preparing my children. I told them either you become a scientist, a quantum physicist, or a biologist, or it's going to be very tough for you. So maybe I'm trying to do entrepreneurs out of them, so to stay flexible. But clearly, now we are facing as a society that this might be a point then for the next question, what we're going to do now with business, the economy run by automation and algorithms. So yes, algorithms will run everything. Let me do just 2 examples. One in business, one you mentioned dating, so it's funny, but let's speak about that too. One of our customers, global company, 10 billion revenues, has to deliver every year 20 million items to 300,000 customers from 200 warehousing and distribution centers. They had 20 planners deciding that. The human brain is limited, complexity is too high, so they have today our software and 3 super users able to manipulate the parameters, and the software is taking the decision. What item is to be sent to whom, when, and how? And in doing this, you know, the result is we cut inventories by 50%. So clearly companies are going for this, okay? The other example on dating, I was 10 days ago at the blockchain conference in San Francisco. I was listening, then a very brilliant guy came to me and said, okay, I'm doing a dating portal, Blazing Blockchain. I say, okay, what has blockchain with dating to do? Oh, we can store, you know, your own data can be stored privately, and crypto keys, now you can control who's accessing, etc. I said, look, do you think that for your market, the blockchain features is really differentiating and key? There are so many dating portals. I say, the algorithms, I mean, your customers are interested in the matchmaking algorithm, no? That's the value. So I say, you know what you can do these days? You can store your pictures of yourself and of your previous girlfriends and lovers on your private computer. Some algorithms go over, extract your geometrical parameters of all the faces. Psychologists have proven that certain geometries match better to certain geometries, and they scan worldwide for the fitting geometry, and they propose to you the perfect girlfriend, okay? So that's what's gonna be, okay? So I think, yes, algorithms will rule everything. I know it's a bold claim, but.
Okay, so who have kind of insights on AI? According to big data, there shall be very great insights in this room. Sandeep, I'm sure you have.
Thank you. I understand the value of AI in the sense that it takes out the emotion of decision making, and so it makes the decision making process a lot more efficient. But when I think of AI, I also see that AI is based on access to data. Like, so for example, in the linear optimization process that you spoke about, you're maximizing some utility by reducing some factor, the constancy of some factor. So you kind of, problem is that in the hedge fund world, which is where I'm involved in, most of the hedge fund blow-ups that have taken place have been taking place because there's a black swan event where you take information, extrapolate it, and then something else happens which has not been captured in history, and you make wrong decisions. Not only is a linear optimization program based on access to certain statistical data, standard deviation, availability, variance availability, and so on and so forth, which not only is it difficult to get, but once you get it, you input it in your decision-making process, and if the quality of the data that you get is not great, the output of the decision that you're going to make is not that great. And you can end up making a lot of wrong decisions when you use artificial intelligence because it's all backward looking and you're extrapolating that in the future. So my question is human decision making still not yet the best decision making outcomes if one can control emotion? Is there a place for artificial intelligence if you can control emotion in human decision making? That's my question.
To have a shot at your question, firstly, how accurate is the human? And I'm not arguing that machines get it any better, but if you bifurcate that, right, there's two elements. One thing that everyone assumes with technology is there's binary outcomes. You switch on a phone, you expect it to be correct. Whereas artificial intelligence and algorithms is all probabilistic, as you know, right? And we as human beings are probabilistic. So, when the mortgage crisis happened in banking, there were very few guys that got it right. You've seen the long short. So, but the second side of the equation is actually the speed with which you react. So if you're designing reaction, and what people always forget with technology is the time arbitrage. So if you take the, I think it's the Aviva contract in France that was written in 1947, one guy had 3 days to revise a contract because it's inconceivable that you could make an investment within 2 weeks. Now, of course, he owns 3/4 of Aviva France because he has 3 days to revise the decision that he made from an investment. So you get this time arbitrage. And when you get to quantum, you get a time arbitrage again, which few people will be ready for. So you're never going to get to a status that you're absolutely correct. You're always working probabilities, and you'll always change your data points and your substitution of information for risk. But it's the speed at which you react that gives you an edge in the market, right? Which is why everyone puts their algo trading right next to the exchanges, all the same sorts of things. So never a clear outcome, but we continue to learn, and what's interesting about tech is it learns at a much faster rate than we can as human beings.
Yeah, one of the biggest use cases is for trading, but sometimes it collapses, and artificial intelligence can collapse the market itself, right?
Yes, I completely agree with you. Okay, there are limitations, clearly. I think algorithms will not overcome certain limitation. For example, now the human brain is using some algorithms which consider also moral rules. And the classical example is of the self-driving car having to decide between conflicting goals of killing the passengers to rescue someone outside or killing someone outside to rescue someone inside. And then it becomes very messy. So that's why I'm not a fan of self-driving cars. So, and clearly, the more algorithms we use, the more we will be facing these limitation constraints, okay? So some areas of human life will not be managed by algos, I agree. Second, you spoke about black swan. Yes, they are not predictable. I think they will never be predictable. Let me tell you that I love black swans because they clean the systems. So sometimes you need black swans, okay?
Yeah, but the problem is that human intuition also doesn't work when we have a black swan. Completely something new. Very few people think that in the right way, right? Very few people short sell mortgage-backed securities in 2007. No, in 2006. In 2007, there were many short sellers. That's the last short point.
But also probably when you look at hedge funds, like overall, and you do this back testing and you see that some of the data analytics hasn't worked, et cetera. But then when you also take the pool of hedge funds that exist, while on average, the best performing hedge funds are quant hedge funds like Renaissance, et cetera, who keep it highly secretive how they do their fitting and how they fit their models. And I mean, part of what I would argue is a lot of the hedge funds that think they're doing AI or think they're doing analytics may have more human error in overfitting many of their models. And the reason to keep that ability sort of secret is because it's been able to create consistent returns over time, where you see hedge funds that don't even want investors in them because the partners are doing so well on what they've learned how to do. And a huge art in the developers within AI who work for us, I mean, the variability we see on individuals who know how to fit a model and work a model and run a model versus those who think they do, learn it in school, but have no idea how to do it are few and far between. So, you know, I would say it's been shown that the right kind of analytics in the right hedge funds with the right talent have outperformed humans.
Here's a counter question.
Okay, the follow-up last comment.
If you increase the confidence interval within which you make predictive decisions in artificial intelligence, the range of decisions are so wide that it kind of almost becomes, you know, you don't need the artificial intelligence. So if you're actually fitting a lower probability decision-making process with a 50% confidence interval as opposed to 95% confidence interval, you get tighter decision-making ranges.
Yeah.
The more confident you want artificial intelligence to be, your variability of decision-making extremes are so wide that you're just better off using the human brain rather than using artificial intelligence in the first place.
Okay, thank you. So I feel that the problem is that when AI is trained by human and they use less information than human has, then AI is not as good for black swans. But when AI will teach AI, maybe there will be different story. So 2 more comments or questions?
Sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Okay, you first. We don't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm Fabian, for Smart Investor from Germany. And Fabio just claimed that...
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. You just claimed that we will lose a lot of jobs during the next decades due to automation, artificial intelligence. Steve seemed to agree. This is also the narrative we got told every day, more or less. But I think this, if we go there from another way, then it might strengthen the argument of the gentleman here in front of us. This is the story we've been told for 250 years, that machines, that industrialization will kill jobs, but actually the opposite is true. Today we have more jobs worldwide than ever before. And I personally believe that we will see even much more jobs growing within the next 10 to 15 years, especially due to artificial intelligence and the blockchain and the combination out of it.
Okay. I have to confess that I'm strongly opinionated on this, okay? So thank you for the question. Because it's something which is really, from one side, concerning me. I mean, with my company, we are a driver of this change, very small, but still a driver. And of course, as a father of a family, I'm a little bit concerned. So in my view, this time is different, as the saying goes, because I'll make you an example. You know, in the past, you took someone used to work at Ford, and you were able to quickly retrain this person to mount solar panels, okay? Today, for the new jobs in 20 years from now, you need to take someone doing jobs we're doing now, like an accountant, a lawyer, etc., and you need to retrain this brain into a scientist. So a biologist manipulating DNA to create new things, quantum physics, etc. So all the new jobs will be for scientists. And you know, to retrain a brain to become a scientist, it takes 20 years. And not every brain is ready for it. So for me, this time is different because of this reason.
I see the opposite.
Yes?
I think specialist jobs are going away. They're the things that you automate. So surgeons, you can do a brain surgery now in 2.5 minutes versus a doctor doing it in 2.5 hours. Radiology as a category is gone. Underwriting. So we've already automated 70% of manual underwriting. So that kind of goes away. You'll see generalist jobs growing. So you see this huge bifurcation, and we're seeing it already in economies. So you know, the top 1% end up with more and more and more. But the generalist jobs, the low-income jobs, yeah, they're probably going to grow. But you're going to see, for specialists now, I think that's risk. I'm with you, with my kids. I tell them, go out, be entrepreneurs, be generalists, run across, because you'll see across silos, and everything in technology is about collapsing value chains. So if you have a look at Silicon Valley, produced, if you look at it at an economic basis, in the 1990s, the number of employees that produced 250 billion worth of revenue for Detroit, Silicon Valley did with 1/10 as many employees in 14 years later. And it's likely they'll go another 10x in the next few years. And look at the job disparity in the valley right now. There's those that have, sit at the top of the tree with everything, and down below you've got guys wandering the street in San Francisco, you think you've landed in the third world, and you have. And so that bifurcation is becoming really pronounced.
Let's make a last comment and we move to next panel. Okay. Yeah, your turn.
I want to pinpoint lastly the responsibility problem. Of course that when the decision making, all this AI come up with the best solution, but let's say when I'm a fatal illness patient, I kind of want to think whether I want to follow the last decision making of my human doctor or whether I want to follow the best decision from Watson or when I do any of that. So I was wondering whether do you think the final decision will be still within the realm of human, or do you want that to be still the AI? And if that happens, then who's taking the responsibility at the final decision?
So I study the medicine area quite a lot for what I do. So if you have a look in manufacturing today, you see factories in China at very low levels introducing robotics. They see 250% productivity increases, 80% reduction in defects. You're going to see the same thing happen in medicine. Do you want to go to a doctor who's maybe attended 1 or 2 sessions a year, getting up to date with the latest information, where almost every week there's new breakthroughs from CRISPR, genomic sequencing. I'm an advisor to Vertex Genetics, which is a genomics company out of Boston. They will publish on a Friday, and by Monday they've learned a whole new load of new things. It's impossible for a human being to keep up with that rate of change today. So you're going to see GPs and second opinion now, all happening through robotics. And in certain areas, it's already much better than the doctor. And there are surgeons that are diagnosing themselves with apps now that, in 2016, the AMA said it was snake oil. A year later, you're getting surgeons at major hospitals diagnosing their own cancer using handheld devices and apps. So you're already seeing this shift. And one of the things that's very hard to look at, go and have a look at the robotic challenge at DARPA in 2015. The best robots in the world were shaky, falling over everywhere. And then, last year you saw them doing backflips. Yeah. You're seeing that rate of change. Now, humans, we don't increase at that rate of change. So the corpus of knowledge that's growing out is growing at an incredible rate. Machine vision, already way ahead of where any doctor is. Responsibility and liability, this is why most AI companies say you have to have a human make the decision, because the liability shift isn't supported legally yet.
I guess generally in the human society, for any decision, even for a patient to go get certain suggestion from the doctors, the patient will try to understand the decision process, right? I think the same thing probably will go through go on in the AI space. So I guess one of the major direction in AI research is explainable AI. So basically, for any AI decision, it won't be a black box. It comes with certain logic for the doctors to explain to the patient that then they can all come to a common decision. So in the end, probably, I still believe that the human will still make the final decision, either by the doctors or by the patient itself. Probably won't be a black box.
I'd like to do a final comment on this. In my view, as it is going to happen, we're going to face as a society a very difficult decision. And so we have a very dystopian end game, which means robots do everything, software does everything, and then there is the 0.01% of the world population living like gods, and everyone else is like the dystopian science fiction movie, underground, fed by the robots to keep alive, okay? That's one scenario. The other one is, of course, what one of my favorite economists, John Maynard Keynes, wrote almost 100 years ago in a very nice booklet, The Future of Our Grandchildren. He said, the gains of capitalism will give us a lot of free time. We're going to have plenty of time for enjoying life, loves, arts, whatever. So this is a collective decision. If you take someone like Stephen Hawking, he's very worried because he thinks that the productivity gains we're going to get are not going to be shared, okay? And let me do a link with the blockchain community. I think that decentralization, which means entrepreneurship, is the key. If we create a society where business economies run on a very tiny level of a plethora of decentralized organizations which are coordinated through technology, we can create a very new social contract because we avoid the centralization of too much power. And I'm trying to teach my kids this. Okay, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.